Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa Havers and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode we will bring you our favourite founders, CEOs and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty ho, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome back, everybody. I am so excited for our conversation today. Welcome to our episode. We're going to be diving into the wealth of wellness. We have the incredible James Granstrom here. Welcome, James.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
For those of you that are new to James, James is a leading wellness consultant, advisor, and podcaster specializing in supporting high net worth individuals, CEOs, and corporate teams. And James has over 20 years of experience in holistic wellness and offers tailored strategies that address the interconnectedness, the needs of the mind, the body, and the soul. And his expertise spans the key areas including nutrition, exercise, mindfulness, and conscious living. So James is a trusted partner for those leaders who are fostering a culture of well-being. This is so exciting, James. I'm so excited to have you here. This kind of conversation that we're going to have is just what our listeners really, really value. So let's start at the beginning. We'd love to hear your story. What led you to, focus on this area in your business?
Well, I mean, every journey, every master was once a disaster, and I was a disaster once upon a time. So my journey was one of being completely unconscious. Even though, I like to think have a, good heart and good intentions. Alas, my actions and my mind was not, they weren't in alignment. And I think we can only really relate to each other really sometimes through just saying what didn't work and having a good look at oneself. So I think it was, if I cast my mind back to my first wake-up call was when I was 19. I crashed my father's car, and it was the first wake-up call I had to understanding that perhaps there's something else going on here. And I basically I crashed the car at 110 miles an hour with a friend in the car. I rolled the car on a wet night, and it's really a miracle that I'm here unscathed, because unfortunately my friend didn't die in the car. I didn't die in the car. I went through the windscreen. There's nothing on my face here, and I walked away from the car accident, the car wreck. And the police, when they turned up to the scene, was asking me, "Have you seen anybody move from the car?" And I said, "Well, I was the driver." And they're like, "Oh my golly, I'm looking at a ghost. How on earth did you survive that? You should be dead, dead, dead." Those were the words. I was like, "Oh my golly." And so, that was quite an emotional, traumatic experience to have to sort of just take that on board. And it took me a few years to unwind that, but I did know that there was something else going on that had spared me or given me another chance at life, because that I knew from even my young years. I was thinking there's no way I should have gotten out of that, and it's just lucky that no one else died. And it probably took another maybe, Louise, maybe no, it took another 8 years to sort of process that. I felt blessed, but I was like, I have to use this miracle of being alive to some advantage, even though I don't know what that is yet. And then it sort of led me into modeling, and I started male modeling pretty much straight after university. So I went and studied economics and business, but I felt like this was interesting, but it didn't really have my full attention. There was something about it I liked. And then when I began male modeling, and I've been male modeling for over 20 years before I started doing the work that I've been doing now, It led me to understand about the body. And I thought, I can get my body in great shape. But what about my mind? That needs to be in great shape as well because I got all the photos. I was doing all the runways in Milan and it was fantastic. But I was like, my head's still not straight. What's up with that? And so that began my journey of mindfulness. I could understand how to take care of the nutritional side, but the mindfulness, that was another aspect of well-being, which I see as a trinity, the mind, the body, and the soul. So the body is the vehicle, the mind is the driver, the soul is the experience. That's how the way I like to put it. And so I went and literally studied everything I could find on business, psychology, going to different seminars, reading literally thousands of books until I just felt like I'd filled myself up with so much information that I had to actually start living all these experiences and all the wisdom that I'd acquired from mentors and books and seminars and so forth. And I was the only person at the time in the modeling industry that I know that didn't drink, didn't smoke, taking care of the body, and understanding that beauty is not only external, it has to be on the internal as well. It's so important for both male and female, but we often look to the external. Now, that's the first thing that we see. But what I realized was eventually I began to see energy as well. Now, this is really interesting. And so, as time continued, I was thinking, right, okay, how can I help more and more people with some of this information that I was starting to live, and I was starting to always be well. Uh, you know, um, I'm 49, nearly 50, and I feel amazing. I'm snowboarding right now in the Alps. I'm on a way on a little break right now before I continue writing the book, which I'm writing right now, and working with my clients. So, and whilst running a podcast, so I've got many things going on, but what I've tapped into is what I like to call this naturally high energy that we all have access to if you have the right key. And I stumbled across it through understanding mindfulness, taking care of the body and presence, and then understanding how we function as human beings. And so I found that I started helping people in high net worth, uh, who are of high net worth value, um, because everybody at some level needs someone to have accountability to. And I thought that that person, after a few meetings with other people, I thought, well, I have the authority to be able to do this because I've been meditating for over 20 years. I understand the body, I understand the mind. And whilst I don't have a doctorate in anything, I understand because my life experience has shown me over and over again that this really works. So I love to share with people just a calm, poised way about how you can actually enjoy a higher quality of life. And everybody wants their life to go to a higher level of quality. And I want to be able to help as many people as possible who are of influential ability to show and light the way. So that's how I found out that this work was for me. So a bit of a story there, but I hope that will
Very
give some of the audience some
important.
insight.
Yes, what a hugely dramatic, life-changing experience to have had so young, to have put you on this incredible path that you're on, and now to be able to help so many people with your expertise and all the information and knowledge that you're then able to take them on that transformational journey. I would love to know from your perspective, because, in all industries, there's a bunch of myths out there that people believe and buy into and can take them down rabbit holes that they don't need to
Sure.
go down. What have you seen from your perspective, perhaps some common myths that people have found around wellness that you find yourself having to help people show them?
Yeah, well, the
The
first thing
light.
that springs to mind is the things called mind viruses that go around. And a mind virus could be something such as, be wary this time of year because you could pick up this. That's a mind virus. Is that true? Not necessarily. Um, but if you allow that to be, then the mind will accept what you believe. So the mind accepts what you believe is possible. And the only way that you can start going from having a new experience from what you've already experienced is to be able to open the mind and go, is it possible? And if it's possible, then the mind will go, well, if it's possible, well, what else is possible? And so I always love to ask the question, is it possible that this could happen? Yes or no, if it's positive, right?
Mm.
Because we often just accept what's bombarded through the media, through television, through programming. It's a conditioning of the mind. And so you have to be very, very wary. And I like to say, have your mind like a fortress to accept or actually deflect what you're watching, what you're observing, what you're reading. And a lot of people do not do that. So when you watch a movie, is it saying a poor story? You know, is it saying making the wealthy bad? Because wealthy are not bad, but they usually have a wealthy villain. So that means that you're already putting you're saying, if I get wealthy, I'll be a villain. So your mind will say, I'm not going to do that. So that will prevent you from ever doing that. And then, they might be saying, is it this time of year that you catch coughs and colds because it's January and winter and cold? Is that true or false? Well, if everyone else has done it and that's always been your experience, maybe that will be true for you. But it isn't, it's just what you've been told.
Mm. So true. We're almost in a hypnotic state, aren't we, when we're watching things like television,
Yeah.
because we're
Because
in that.
television is a programming for the mind, and actually, funny, what happens is when you're watching TV, you manage to switch off and relax, which means you enter alpha rhythm patterns, which means anything that's coming is easily acceptable. And so, if you're listening or watching this, you've got to be very mindful about what you're paying attention to. And a lot of people think, yeah, 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 but you really do, because the people that I work with are very particular about who you spend time with, what you do, how much time you're actually giving your attention to anybody, because time is your most precious commodity, and who you choose to spend it with or watching anything with is just so important.
Very
And the more you
important.
value yourself, the more you become, that becomes way, way tighter.
This is so true. People, what I've recognized where people have that high level of success, that intention and attention is very, very carefully curated when they're very conscious around how we create our realities and choosing to live consciously rather than respond in response to all the programmings that we are holding. And if we haven't got, like you were saying, because what we're picking up when we're watching TV, the media programming, because we're in that alpha state, we can then not be aware of how that program has then landed in our field. And then we're going to start to create reality from it. What have you found? So bearing all of this in mind and with the focus that you help people with, because as I think about where people are, high net worth individuals that often can be under immense pressure, how do you help them with being able to balance and have that focus on that inner wealth, their well-being from the soul, the mind, and the body perspective?
Well, I kind of like help teach spiritual principles to people who are not necessarily spiritually inclined, is probably the best way. But I'm able to do it through telling lots of stories and sharing case studies. I think that that's really how we as human beings have always, through millennia, being able to relate to one another. And just like we're doing here, we're just telling each other stories and hoping that the stories land something with someone listening or watching that inspires them and think, that I can relate to that. Or because storytelling is essentially how we connect with one another. So I think becoming a masterful storyteller is really important to be able to connect with particularly people functioning at very, very high levels. Um, and to be present, the story always helps you just come back to go, yeah, I remember listening to that story and it's given me a new perspective about perhaps I might relate to a family member here or someone who I might wish to delegate this responsibility to in the business or maybe that I could actually be more present with a family member instead of always constantly asking them this question, have they done this, and they haven't done it, and you feel defeated. And often, there's a lot of challenge with regards to that. Relationships are so important with high net worth individuals and trust as well. So trust is one of the most important things, and trust can be broken very quickly, but in order to be trust, you need to keep showing up and you need to demonstrate that trust through your actions and your words and your actions. So keeping your thoughts, words, and deeds in alignment all the time and doing what you say you're going to do is so important. And to be present, if it was with a spouse, for instance, it might be, I can be with you in 10 minutes, but can you give me 10 minutes before I can give you my undivided attention? Because if you're giving someone your undivided attention, then you can be present with them and they feel loved, or they feel seen and feel heard. And most people want to feel loved, seen, and heard and aren't. And that's the reason why a lot of relationships fail, because one of those three things are not being met. Those needs are not being met. So if we can just tell others, tell the people that are important, whether it's someone in business or it's someone really close to you, hey, I can be with you, but please give me 30 minutes and then you've got me for a certain amount of time and I'll give you my undivided attention. How many times have you heard someone say, I'm at home, but I don't feel you. I know you're there, but you're not because you're on your phone or doing something. So these are the things that are important. Presence is important. Being seen, being heard, and being acknowledged. That's what we really need as human beings. So yeah, that's some and a couple of the ways that I might be relating to high net worth individuals with challenges.
I think you touched on something so important here around that piece of presence, because there are so many competing demands with our attention. If we think of most people, nowadays, if you spontaneously call someone, they're going to be in the middle of something, and there is that sort of default thing of, oh, I have to answer the phone right now, even if it's completely inconvenient. And then, of course, that person may not be giving you their full attention because they're multitasking. They're just trying to have a quick chat with you whilst they're finishing off an email or whatever it might be. And that's going to be no good for anybody. You might start agreeing to something that you weren't quite quite listening to.
Sure, sure.
So I love what you're saying there around that importance of presence. I really think that we need more of that, and humans are craving it. And it's how we create our realities. I know that when we spoke before, you spoke a lot about the impact of meditation, and I would love to unpack that a bit more, because I know it's
Yeah, sure.
an impact on your life.
Yeah,
And certainly I see it's a way that we can really cultivate presence.
sure.
Do you want to share a little bit about?
I will, I will. I mean, it makes me laugh because, what I find is that I find even at higher levels of things being demanded from you with people who have time as their most scarce resource and, unlimited everything. I really love this because this is everybody needs help at every level. And if you really break it down, when you understand human behavior, which is what I spent like most of my life trying to understand myself, which has been an interesting thing in itself, I found out at the depth of it, everything's actually quite amusing, right? It's quite funny, but it does not feel like that when you're going through a dark night of the soul. It does not feel like that when you're having an immense challenge. But once things pass, you'll be like, I understand how these things come together, and meditation is definitely the way in where you'll be able to shine a light on things that you can't see. And so when I was having that troublesome, irksome part of my life, when I was drinking way too heavily and, mentally all over the shop, didn't have my thoughts, words, and deeds in alignment, everything was just messy. And, I took some time to just sit down and be still every day. And it was the most rebellious thing to do, is to be still. Because in a world that's moving so quickly, to be still is the opposite of what we're doing. Whether there's social media distractions, TV, books, people, phone calls, you name it, it's going on. But to be still is the exact rebellious opposite. So I knew inside of myself that I was a rebel, but I was like, well, how can I turn this into an advantage? And so when I was really having a difficult time thinking I'm caught in this, what I coined the phrase, this loop of lunacy of going out and going out for 4 days of the week, Thursday to Sunday in my 20s, and only feeling good again the next Thursday, And then it happening all over again, and I just seemed to be caught in this loop of lunacy. I thought, oh my golly, please, there's got to be a way out. Otherwise, I know for sure I'm not going to make it out of this loop. Because I managed to survive the last one. That was a miracle. And, if there's anything listening to me, and, I did believe in God, but I needed more. I needed more for me. And if anybody's going through any challenge right now, you must ask life, energy, God, angels, whatever you wish to call it, infinite intelligence. There is a source greater than you that you are tuned into, and meditation is the art of listening. Prayer is the art of asking. And I really needed to listen because I was asking so much but getting no answers. But as soon as I began to sit still, things began to unfold. It's almost as if the lights in my brain, if you've ever looked at a brain light up, when you're seeing the electrical charge areas start to light up in your brain when you become still. And I was like, my voice changed, my actions changed. I started to gravitate to different foods. I eliminated drinking within 4 months. I didn't go to AA, I didn't need any of this type of stuff. And yet now what came was all this new information that had always been there, but I had never accessed. It was like the swipe card had now given me full access to understanding myself and the universe, which it didn't have before because I didn't have the swipe card access because I was out drinking or partying, which is understandable because we would need to have our experience. So I'm very compassionate with that younger version of myself, but life didn't really become fun until I had that swipe card access, which came through the medium of having a meditation practice. And then, wow, everything became clearer. I began to hear different things. I began to see more vividly, access to new words and vocabulary and explanation and understanding was just so in tune. It became like, wow, oh, this is interesting. Didn't realize that this was possible. It's like, wow, okay, I can see why we run away from our problems into externals, external addictions, external things. You know, we do that because we are trying to run from the negative thinking that we've got. But if you just quiet the mind, it subsides. And then the energy rises, and you're like, oh, now I've got access to this new fun thing. Okay. And then it becomes lighter, but you can't see that when you're in the quagmire. You can't
No.
see that when you're walking around in the mud. And so, yeah, meditation has been phenomenal for me. So I've been doing it 20 minutes a day in the morning, sometimes 20 minutes in the day, in the evening for at least the first 10, 15 years, and maybe for the last 5 years, just a meditation in the morning. That'll do.
Yeah. That's a powerful practice to have, and that commitment. I always talk with my clients about the compound effect, and that really is the compound effect in practice to see the ripple effect in your life. I love what you were saying around prayer is asking and meditation is listening, because
Yeah.
I think that distinction's so beautiful. So I just wanted to kind of echo it back so people really make sure that they pick that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, it's just so
Um,
huge. That's so important, right? Because we're like radios and receivers, and we're like, hey, there's something greater than you. And if your listeners are tuned into this type of thing, even like you just you've got to ask some good questions. And you're asking for your life to improve constantly. Anyone who's listening right now is asking for one area of their life: health, finances, relationships. Please make that better in some capacity. And how do I have access to that? Well, you have access to that. You've asked the question. Now, the frequency to receive that is on a different frequency. How do I receive that? Well, get quiet. And then when you're quiet, maybe you receive an idea. Not maybe when you're actually in the meditation, but when you're going about your day. This is what I discovered. Like I don't get all these colors and lights and things happening in my meditation. It's just quietening the mind. But I get little insights that come throughout the day. I get these little ideas, go here, do this impulse, try this, and then it leads me to something that's absolutely wow factor that makes me go, right, okay, I'll do this again tomorrow. I call it the green lights of life. If you want green lights, meditate. If you want red lights, just keep doing what you're doing.
I love that
Do you
green light.
want a swipe card access to the VIP top floor? Yes or no? If you do, Begin that practice. If you don't, keep doing what you're doing. And most people go, oh, I can't be bothered. Well, that's because you haven't had enough green lights in your life. Get more and you'll want more. That's why I haven't missed a day in over 20 years.
It's so true, so true. I love what you said about in that moment of the meditation, the insights may not come there, and
No.
it can come where I say this as well to my clients that when you're in the shower doing something really boring like doing the washing up, just going about your usual thing, and then that those insights come through. It's the best thing that you can do when you're tapped into those synchronicities and you're what that frequency or an energetic match for. So you start to see all these experiences that are going to
Yeah.
take the
So check
results that you didn't expect.
So check this out. This I found this hilarious because I find new things all the time. It's almost as if life go, oh, you like that? Don't worry, I'll show you this. And you're like, oh, okay. And I try not to take myself too seriously. I take my work seriously and being able to assist my clients seriously. But there's always a funny story that just here's how about this. So yesterday we were skiing on the mountains. I'm currently in the French Alps right now, and it was so bright I had to take off my lenses, my goggles whilst I was skiing because we'd gone so high up that we were skiing through the clouds and then you go down. And I was like, right, I can't see much with my lenses on, even though they're good lenses. My friend had like these low level light ones on. I think I had medium ones. So I decided, well, just take the lenses off. So I just took the lenses off and just started skiing down the mountain. But what I started to see was all the energy. I started to see all these lines of energy literally everywhere. And so I knew I was going to be safe because I'm just following the path of energy. If you're a Formula One driver, you see the racing line.
Mm.
If you're an attuned elite athlete, you might see the ski line. So that's what I was seeing. And I was seeing all this beautiful energy, like going, oh, I'm tuned in. I'm part of this live being, which is this mountain, and I'm one with this mountain. And then as I've taken my lenses off, I really get to see it in full view. Everyone has access to this, but when you slow the mind down and you become really in tune and you start to have more flow experiences, this just becomes the norm. You're like, oh, and so everything that I'm living is just normal, but there's more. There's always more you can access, and I get fascinated and excited to share. Hey guys, you don't realize what you can actually tune into if you can slow down a little bit. Because when you slow down, you get to see more of the view, you get to see more of the perspective. It's like life shows you more color, more beauty, and you get to understand more about your part and where you need to be. It's almost as if you're like, oh, you like that? I'll pop you there. You're going to really like that, Louisa. You know,
I love
it
you
just
so
goes
much.
on and on. So it's
Yeah.
quite fun. And you're thinking, golly, I feel like I'm being blessed. And the answer is yes, you are. But you need to tune in, and meditation really helps you tune in more. Prayer helps, obviously, but meditation will help you really get those green lights. You'll be the receiver of such good ideas and impulses.
Love this so much, and the feeling that you've shared with your story around when what flow feels like.
Yeah.
It's a blessing, magical. You don't want the feeling to stop.
No.
Life can feel easier even when there's challenging things going on around you.
Sure. And challenge is part of life. You're just going to have challenge. But what if with the challenge, there's also a solution that's just right there? If
Yeah,
you can keep that, um, if you can keep that energy nice and balanced, not pushing against, just like, okay, there's the challenge, it's right there. However, I'm going to work with it because as soon as a challenge appears, so does a solution.
exactly. I love this. So for our listeners who are thinking, yes, James, I want to tap into that flow. What would you say are three tips or steps that you would recommend that they start today to improve? You were saying around how everybody is looking to improve their life in one area. So
Sure.
what area that may be? What would be your like, right? These are the three things.
Okay, it depends on what's the most important because your values keep shifting around. Like for some people, their relationships are just so important. I need to give that attention because I feel, I feel a lack in that energy. So, if it's your relationships, that are challenging, that's what you need to give a bit more love and attention to. If it's your finances that are lacking, then of course you need to learn some financial understandings. But and then if it's your health and physical health, you've got to be asking yourself, number one, what am I putting in my body? And number two, what am I thinking? Because you could have a really fit body like I did and have a six pack, but you're going to be really ill if your thoughts are negative and not focused and clear. So for me, my first thing was to take care of the body and the mind. Then it came relationships, then it came finances. And then I was like, wow, okay, this one, I'm going to take the same skill set and apply it to this one and take this one to this one. But what I recognized was, which was really good, is how good is the question you're asking? Because the quality of your life is dependent on a couple of things: quality of your relationships, meaningful work, and the quality of the questions you ask yourself. And I have to be honest, I used to ask myself rubbish questions a long time ago, which was, why is this always happening to me? Why am why is this? And if you may be concerned about weight, or you may be concerned about your health, you're probably asking the wrong question, which is, why am I never getting ahead? What's wrong with my body? What's wrong with me? The question should be, you know, why have I got everything I need? Why am I blessed? Number one, why am I blessed? Number two, if it's to do with your relationships, is, why is it safe for me to love and be loved? Question, why? We need to have the why, because the why is the emotional driver. That's the free prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is when you're kids, you've always asked to hear the kids saying, why is that, mama? Why is that, dada? Why? So, but when we forget that, when we grow older and we grow up, what we're doing is reverting back to that childhood mind, because that's all we ever knew. So if your relationship with money wasn't great, that's what you revert to until you put in a new question, which is, why am I now good with money? And which might be, why is it safe for me to be wealthy? Because you might have been watching those programs like we were talking about earlier, which is, if you become super wealthy, is it not a good thing? You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
I look at things like, if you look at an old film like Annie, Daddy Warbucks, what was he doing? He was trying to use that money in wise ways to help kids. You know, if you were Citizen Kane, he was trying to create a helpful business. And so Iron Man trying to help people, the billionaire Tony Stark, all this type of stuff, but trying to use that to protect humanity from outside sources. But there's so many other things. So is it safe is the first thing. Number one, why is it safe for me to be healthy, happy, and wealthy? Why is it safe for me to be in a loving relationship? You know, and so you're now actually turning the what you want into a question of why, instead of making a statement that you don't believe yet, which are what affirmations are. So you want to be asking a better question. Why is it possible? Or wouldn't it be nice if I I had this, and wouldn't it be nice when that happens, and won't it be nice when this happens? I mean, now there's no resistance in the brain. One of the things I had a challenge with was prior to Christmas, because we were supposed to connect with each other. And I'll tell you, um, I was supposed to connect with Louisa just before Christmas and do an interview, but my mother went into hospital on the day we were supposed to, and I wasn't able to get back to Louisa to say what happened. So for you guys listening, what actually happened is my mother like had punctured her kidney or something like this, and she was due to fly to come and see me in Spain, which is where I live. And we weren't sure whether, number one, she was going to ever make it on the plane, and then number two, whether she was going into hospital and staying there for the whole of Christmas. But actually, the doctors released her after 2 days and said, look, you can go to Spain, but you're going to have a CT scan, which is today as we speak. And I just said to myself, not that I have all power over everything, but I said, well, wouldn't it be nice if she made it? And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make Christmas wonderful for her. And then I did my natural thing of saying, Louisa, I do apologize. I'm sorry I missed this call. But I'm just trying to clean all my energy up so that I can be clear with you and send love to Mama, and to make sure that everything is in this kind of energetic state of calm.
Mhm.
because everyone is going through something all the time. If you're listening, I know you're going through something, and I've got compassion that you're going through something. But when you use your mind to ask a better question through the challenge and be willing to do what it takes to make it better, then I guarantee you on the other side of that are what I call green lights. And so the blessing is that my mama came to stay with me for 3 weeks, and she went back and had a blood test, and they said, "You're absolutely fine." So what did you do in Spain? She goes, "Oh, we just went for walks. I ate very well. I was with my son who's a well-being such and such." And she said to me, "Thank you." And I said, "I didn't do much. I just held that space." And so when we are non-resistant with ourselves and others, which is tricky sometimes, but this is what meditation offers. This is what eating well offers. This is what having wonderful relationships and meaningful work offers. Money will find you. Great relationships will find you. Great health will be with you. And you'll sleep well at night. But you won't sleep well at night if one of those areas are out. But
Very
you
true.
must give yourself discipline. Discipline is the way to freedom, and self control is the way to freedom. And it's the way to having a lot more money in your life and a lot more happiness and a lot more health. What are your disciplines? I was so ill disciplined, Louisa, that I can actually say that
Nothing at all going
I'm a
on.
reformed character, and I'm happy with that because it makes it relatable. Then I'm not saying I'm an angel, but I'm saying that if you have a level of self-discipline, it shows that you have self-respect. If you have
Mhm.
self-control, you become a very powerful masculine energy. It becomes very attractive to the feminine energy if you have self-control and self-discipline. Whether that's even in sex, saying not for me right now, or whether that's saying I've got self-control, perhaps not to negotiate that deal and I'll wait till a better time. Am I going to go straight into that negotiation and deal right now, or should I just wait out and get a bit more information? Do you see what I mean? Even skiing right now, is this a good decision to drop in on this very strong mountain that's very tall and the weather's not great, or shall I just wait till conditions are just slightly better? Discipline, self-control, discernment. We all need these, and we can't develop them at a young age, but we only get them when challenge has been so strong for us. And it will help financial life in ways you can't even imagine. So you're taking these spiritual aspects and applying them to everyday life. Even when I go shopping, I try and go at a time when no one else is going shopping. Why? Self-control, even though it might be fresh. No, I know I need that space. We've come skiing at a time the week straight after New Year's. There's no one here.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you see what I mean? And you're thinking, what? That's almost irresponsible to go right at the beginning. Well, we can
Mm,
because we can. We put ourselves in a space where that is actually possible.
mm.
So if you're looking for freedom, it has to come from self-discipline and self-control. Can't come any other way. As much as I wanted it to.
Rebels, like I wanted all these
A
things, but I
rebel, the
can't.
rebel. So if there's a rebel inside of you who wants to travel, wants to see the world, wants freedom, well, you'll only ever get it through self-discipline and self-control. You won't get it any other way. That means you're going to be self-control in what you eat, put in your mouth, what you watch, what you listen to, who you hang around, all of these things.
Yes, we need to curate consciously rather than just allowing things to unfold and happen. I love what you share, James, around questions that speaks to my language as well, because I always ask my clients what are the quality of the questions that you're asking, because we create our reality through our questions. So I loved how you were saying about, why am I blessed? Why is it safe for me to be loved? Why is it safe for me to be good with money or to be wealthy? These are huge takeaways for everybody. As we wrap up, I know that you had an incredible gift for everybody. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about that and how they can come and find you and step into your world?
Oh, sure, sure. Well, yeah, I created a few years ago, I created a meditation. And the meditation I created was something I was inspired to do. And it's a full breath in and a full breath out. So it's roughly 7.5 to 8 breaths per minute. And that actually gets your mind into that deeper relaxation state. Now, it's a slightly guided, so you'll hear my voice just at the beginning and at the end. And if you are able to listen to it going up and then listen to it going down, then you'll follow that cycle, and it's only 12 minutes. What that will do is begin to reduce the cortisol inside of your body and give you your card to start accessing, as we were talking a little bit earlier, some of those green lights that you deserve. But you need to keep at it. I mean, not necessarily use this meditation that I've created, but keep at something that's a discipline for you, because there's so much available to you that perhaps you're not letting in yet. But when you start meditating and start slowing the mind down, you start to receive more of the goodies that you've been wanting, that you've been kind of like not allowing in through the door for quite some time. That's exactly what happened to me in my life. Just suddenly it went, lots of things started coming in. And then after a while it steadied it, and then it was like the next thing, and then the next thing. And even my business evolved like that as well. And the podcast evolved like that. So, I've been running my own podcast for like 5 years, and I just share lots of ideas with amazing people. And sometimes it's just myself that I'm sharing insights and understanding. But yeah, that is a lovely gift you guys can enjoy, and it's a great place to just start if you're a novice. Just remember, every master was once a disaster. Yeah.
I'm going to quote you on that. I think it's just absolutely brilliant. What's your podcast, James, so people can come and find that as
My
well?
podcast is my name, James Granstrom, Super Soul Model. And it's a little play on my words from my modeling career. But what I really like about it is, as I'm wanting to put that soul aspect of us, because I believe that once you start accessing a nice feeling energy for quite some time, you're putting out into the world, you start to see more green lights and good stuff happening to you. Now it's your responsibility to, influence others in good ways. So it's like a lovely ripple effect. So the Super Soul Model is the name of my podcast, James Granstrom Super Soul Model, and it's just about helping influential people like all your listeners be able to reach even more people. Because when you get your energy in tune, you're going to enjoy life. And I think that's what life is really meant for. Enjoyment. Try and enjoy it as much as you possibly can, because there's a finite amount of time. But it's really important that you understand some of these rules that we've shared today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, James. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
taking a break from the Alps to come and have our conversation.
That's all right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you to all our listeners for joining in. We hope that this has served you. Do go and follow James. Take advantage of the generous offer of the meditation. We'll share all the links below this episode, and we will see you all next time. Sending everyone lots and lots of love.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.